again. So my talk today is called Knowing Who You Are, the first step in relationship. So thank you, Gloria, for your comment. Reverend Lesia's theme for the month, as you have seen, is relationship. And as I meditated on what to speak about today that would support that theme, I realized that the most important thing each of us needs to know in any relationship is who each of us truly is. I want to share a quote from Paul Ferrini's book, The Silence of the Heart. Your relationship to yourself and your Creator determines the quality of your life. Your relationship to yourself and your Creator determines the quality of your life. Ferrini goes on to say, when you feel worthy of God's love, you talk to God, confide in her, and are grateful for your life. When you feel that you're just a random, purposeless creation, you have no one to talk to. You lead an isolated, aimless life. You do not know why you are here. Purpose in life comes from the connection to the divine. It comes from the self-affirmation, I matter. There is something here I am meant to do. God has a plan for me. You can't know God's plan as long as you insist on your own. God can't be in charge as long as you think you're the boss. The first block to your relationship with God is your knowledge and your pride. Surrender these, and you will make room for God's plan for your life. Speaking personally, I can say that it isn't always easy to surrender to God's plan. When chaos appears in the material circumstances of your life, we are human beings on this spiritual journey, and our humanness can kick in under pressure. Sometimes when life looks dark or stormy and we don't see a clear path out of what appear to be difficult circumstances, we let fear get a grip on us. We know that Spirit expresses in, as, and through each one of us. We know that God is everywhere present, but it is a challenge to hold firmly to that knowledge when we are faced with conflict or death of a loved one, a critical illness, a financial crisis. Life offers up a great variety of personal challenges, and I'm sure each of us have faced many of them. Do we remember who we truly are when the going gets tough? Are we willing to be open to God's plan when life throws us curveballs? There was a great article in the March Science of Mind magazine the other day, and I want to share it with you. Reverend Dr. Margaret Stortz, who was a revered New Thought minister, who passed recently, and they're re-featuring some of her writings. She wrote, "There is fear of the unknown, and certainly the fear that things may not turn out the way we planned in any number of ways. I do not believe it is wise to not get upset with ourselves if we find we are expressing fear. If we do, the upset will only grow and create more fear. Better, we should cultivate fear's great antidote. Faith that the universe by its nature brings us life, vitality, and possibility. If we find ourselves ruminating over fear and dread, we can immediately begin to stop the cycle and re-gear, rethink, recalculate. We will have to bring to a halt a malicious, self-defeating stream of negativity. When we recognize what we are doing to ourselves, we can turn once more to faith in the divine. Each of us can affirm, I remind myself, I am the place where God stands forth in the world as me. I believe in myself. I believe in the guidance and inspiration of the mind of God. I can change my mind, and I do. In Dr. Holmes' book called A Thing Called You, which some of you may have studied or read, he reminds us that you already are a spiritual being. When the mind understands this and embodies its essence, that which you are in the invisible will become more apparent in the visible. Life will be to you what you are to it. Think about it. On those days when you go out with a smile on your face, speaking kindly to everyone, and being thoughtful and friendly wherever you go, have you noticed you find that the people you meet respond in the same way? How about the days when you get out of bed in a rotten mood? Have you found that every traffic light is red, everyone you meet is grumpy or indifferent, and nothing works smoothly at work or at home? Now, isn't that strange? We sometimes forget the very power of our thoughts and our consciousness as we manifest our daily experiences. We create our lives. Those of you who have heard me speak before know I always put a joke or two somewhere in the talks. I always explain that I do this for two reasons. First of all, too much serious talk tends to allow the mind to drift. Nothing like a joke to bring it back to the present moment. In fact, sometimes it helps wake people up. Not to say anyone would sleep, but it could happen. Secondly, I believe in laughter. I believe it is healing, and I believe it is essential to our lives. So I hope you enjoy this little joke. After Christmas, a teacher asked her young pupils how they spent their holidays. One child wrote the following: "We always used to spend the holidays with Grandma and Grandpa. They used to live in a big brick house, but Grandpa got retarded and they moved to Bateman's Bay, where everyone lives in nice little houses, so they don't have to mow the grass anymore. They ride around on their bicycles and scooters and wear name tags because they don't know who they are anymore. They go to a building called a REC, W-R-E-C-K, Rec Center, but must have got it fixed because it looks okay now. They do exercises there, but they don't do them very well. There is a swimming pool there, but they jump up and down in it with their hats on. At their gate, there is a dollhouse with a little old man sitting in it. He watches all day so nobody can escape. Sometimes they sneak out and go cruising in their golf carts. Nobody there cooks, they just eat out. And they eat the same thing every night, early birds. Some of the people can't get out past the man in the dollhouse. The ones who can get out bring back food to the rec center for potluck. When I earn my retardment, I want to be the man in the dollhouse. Then I will let people out so they can visit their grandchildren." Through the eyes of a child. While we laugh, that little story is a good reminder how each of us has a filter through which we experience the world around us. That was the filter of a child's eyes, seeing his grandparents in their new home. We create the story of what is happening based on our limited understanding. As we open to spirit and get a broader perspective on what we think is our experience, the very nature of our experience will change. We can rewrite our story. In fact, we are called upon to do that over and over again in life. I recently had a Zoom call with a woman I met through an online spiritual living circle. She had decided to reach out to talk to me privately on Zoom. I did not know her other than to have seen her face in quite a large Zoom meeting. She explained that she lives in a town in northern Florida where she moved to retire 3 years ago, and she just couldn't find any friends there. She tried everything. She felt like a fish out of water, as her neighbors were indifferent and the group she had attempted to join just treated her like an outsider. She volunteered at the food bank. She volunteered at the community center. This is a tiny agriculture town in an area where there are a lot of very traditional living people who've lived there all their lives. They weren't really open to making new friends. So as a longtime student of science of mind, she found no one she could have a friendship with. So her solution? She began to reach out through the internet. She could make people all over the world her friends. She made a virtual connection with her former spiritual center, which was miles away from where she'd moved. She began to take classes there and at another center, and made new friends via these classes all over the country, and, as it turns out, in Canada. And she said, build her community virtually of like-minded people that she could relate to via Zoom. What a lovely creative response to a dilemma that might not have been resolved in such a lovely way. She seems like a lovely person, and in fact, she may be listening on Facebook later. Hi, Dana. Everything in your life depends on your belief, and as you change your belief, you change your world. Every thought you think is creative. This is not because you wish or hope or pray or long for it to be so. It is creative because there is a creative law operating through your thinking. What you focus on is what appears in your world. Returning to the words of Paul Ferrini, what do we choose to do with the hand we have been dealt? How can we work with the challenges life has provided us to come to peace in our hearts and in our relationships? Ferrini writes at length about integrity. He reminds us integrity is there in each one of us. The problem is that we believe we are not whole. We believe that we need to be fixed or that we can fix someone else. We feel a false sense of responsibility for others, and we do not take enough responsibility for ourselves. When we are not blaming each other for our problems, we are blaming God. We think it's her fault that we are unhappy. It is always someone else's fault why we aren't happy. So if we want to discover our integrity, we need to stop pretending we are victims. In a world where everyone is genius, there are no bosses and no employees. There are only teachers and students in voluntary association. If you do not like where you are, you can leave that place. And if you do not honor yourself. Do not force yourselves to stay in any environment in which you cease to remember that you are a creator of your life. When you bless the past, you are free to leave it. Be strong in your conviction about your life. Be gentle with others. Do not judge their needs just because you cannot meet them. Just be honest about what you can and cannot do and wish them well. The law of life, as Ernest Holmes calls it, that is at the center of your being. That law, acting through you, makes your thought creative. It takes the form of your thoughts and responds to your word exactly as you think it or speak it. I want to close with this powerful affirmation from Ernest Holmes. I am not concerned about what happened yesterday. I know that today everything is made new. I let go of all sense of limitation. I divorce my thought from any belief in lack. I repudiate the idea that I am poor or weak or sick or unhappy. New conditions are being created for me, conditions of harmony, happiness, peace and joy. All circumstances and situations are being harmonized. Wherever I go, I shall meet peace, joy, and happiness. Whatever I do shall be done with reason and intelligence. I shall be surrounded by friendship, by beauty and right action. My whole being responds to this conviction. Simply with complete conviction, I accept my freedom. Isn't that a great way to establish your relationship with yourself and with God? So I would like to close with another short little Ernest Holmes quote. When the time comes that nothing goes forth from you other than that which you would be glad to have return, then you will have reached your heaven. Namaste.